All right, all right. Well, thank you guys. We know we're the last two sessions before drinks and the game. So we'll keep it enthusiastic and energy filled. So my name is Justin Sparks. I run vertical strategy and category development for InMobi. For those of you who are not familiar with InMobi, we are a mobile ad tech company and one of the largest ad exchanges, specifically in the mobile space in North America and globally. And so today we're excited to have both Linda and Michelle. And so I'll let you guys introduce yourself and we'll jump into leadership.
Hi, I'm Linda Bethea. I am the head of marketing at Danone North America. Many people don't know who Danone is, but you would know our brands. We have a portfolio of over 25 brands in the food and beverage space, yogurt brands such as Oikos, Danimals, Light and Fit Activia, a plant-based portfolio with Silk and So Delicious, Horizon Organic Dairy, Evian Water, etc. And I'm very excited to be here. Oh, and my mic doesn't work, so you probably didn't hear a word I said. Hi. Linda Bethea, head of marketing at Danone.
You had a dry run. Michelle?
Let's see if this, yes. Hi, I'm Michelle Froah. I am global marketing strategy and sciences for MetLife. And MetLife, as you may know, is a global company where we sell insurance and other financial service products.
Awesome. And so we're going a little different than what's been in the programming thus far today and executive leadership, and what does that mean to both of you and your organizations. So, one of the things that we talked about in our prep call is let's start with something personal. And so first question, what is something that a boss has told you in your career that has helped you throughout your career and that you still remember today? Linda, do you want to start?
Sure. So early in my career, I remember a boss told me that the best marketers are those who understand other functions, like sales, finance, and supply chain. And I really took that to heart. And about 5 to 6 years into my brand management career at Frito-Lay, I actually raised my hand and asked for a rotation in the field. So I moved from Plano, Texas, to our field office in Somerset, New Jersey, where I was now responsible for leading a team of seasoned sales professionals, most of whom had much more experience than me, much older than me. It was a very humbling leadership experience. I traveled over 100 days that year, worked my ass off, meeting with customers, learning as much as I could about field sales and marketing, and I honestly believe it did make me a better marketer. It was probably one of the most challenging roles of my career, but one that I look back on and can honestly say that I learned so much, both functionally and personally as a leader. I would highly recommend that to anyone.
And Michelle, before we go to you, I guess Linda, how do you kind of pass that on to your team, knowing that experience and working your ass off in something that's not normal, in terms of what you do now? How do you kind of portray that to your team and just getting out there and experiencing other functions and understanding, like, what are the other cogs that make the business move?
Yeah, I work very closely with all of my direct reports on what their career desires are, and then we build a plan. What is your 3-year plan? What is your 5-year plan? What is your 10-year plan? Where do you want to be, and what's the best way to get there, and what's the right set of experiences to do that, whether it's within marketing, general business, et cetera. And I highly recommend getting that broader cross-functional experience to be a better leader.
That's a great one. And so, Michelle, going to you, what was your experience?
Well, before I even say that, I didn't know that about you, Linda. That's awesome. And
Learn something new every day.
I know. And I actually wholeheartedly agree with that. I had the opportunity to do a lot of different functions as well. I went from product supply to marketing, did a little stint in sales where you learn a whole lot of new ways of how to market your products. And it really does make you a well-rounded marketer when you can put yourselves in other people's shoes, for sure, and have some shared objectives. But what's funny is, Justin, when you asked that question, my immediate thought went back to like 25 years ago, maybe, when I was an ABM at P&G, and I had a boss who said, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, we'd all be very sad and we would miss you, but the work would really go on. And I thought, wow, that's kind of stuck with me, right? Because I thought, that really means you're replaceable. And damn, I don't want to be replaceable. And so kind of connect that to maybe some more helpful advice, which was you are responsible for your career. No one else cares about your career more than you do. And so that really gave me some freedom to think about how could I be irreplaceable and kind of plot my own course and path for aspiring to, what and who I wanted to be, and give me some freedom to make that innovative, and actually crisscrossy and doing some cross-functional broadening assignments, etc. So that's something that has stuck with me for sure.
That's a great one, yeah. And I think quickly as you kind of move through your career, you realize you are replaceable, and someone's going to put a new spin on the role, and everyone kind of has their own way of doing the job. And just maybe closing it out, just to share my own personal experience, I had someone tell me, you need two things if you're going to really progress in an organization outside of planning your own way. Is you need not only a mentor, but you need an advocate, and those are often two different people. And so that stuck with me very clear throughout the years, and it's certainly been helpful as I kind of move through my career. And so maybe, Linda, going to you, one of the topics that we wanted to get into was team building. And so to your point around how do you help your team develop and really extract what they want from their career and their roles, what are the things that most excite you about building a team and the process of doing so?
Yeah, I think building a team is one of the most important things we do as a leader. I manage a team of almost 100 people across, many different disciplines. And being from Massachusetts, I'm a huge Patriots fan. And so I actually subscribe to the Bill Belichick philosophy of team building. Know your strengths and do your job. So when I'm building my team, I look for leaders that have very diverse but complementary strengths. And then we work as a leadership team to make sure that everybody's very clear on their roles and responsibilities. What is the individual value they can add in their job? And then we step back and let them do their jobs. Because I truly think when people are focused on doing their individual jobs in a collaborative way, that's when you build an extraordinary team that can do extraordinary things. So that's really what we focus on from a team building standpoint.
And Michelle, same question. What do you look for when you're starting to build a team or, reshaping your team?
Well, I think what gets me most excited about that is that you can always expect the unexpected. And when you do it right, the team building part, you gain unexpected connections and relationships with people, that form organically, and they span the work. Or they go beyond really the work, and they go beyond careers, and they live on. And I think, part of our role as leaders is to help, create that. And so one of the things that over the last couple of years now I've seen my team recently do is figure out ways to connect with each other. Turned out to be virtual, but you know what? Now that we're back to office, we're continuing it. We've had this ritual since the first week of the pandemic where we have a happy hour. And so we haven't missed a Thursday, except for holidays, where we have this happy hour. And, it isn't it's a happy hour that isn't centered around drinking, even though, you're more than welcome to bring one if you like. But it's centered more around celebrating our individual passions and sharing, I think, different experiences and really our diversity. So each one of the happy hours are hosted by one of the people on the team. Everyone volunteers to host one, and you can do anything you want. We have raging competitions, which is always fun. Big cahoots, etc. But we've also had games where we get to know each other better, or where people share their family traditions, or their passion for cooking, or their knowledge of actually our health benefits was one of the topics. Someone wanted to share. We learned a lot. We were like, wow, we actually have some really cool benefits. And so it's just one of those activities that we all look forward to every week. And it's created some unexpected connections, and I just know that, this team now is so inclusive and so supportive of each other because they know each other personally.
Yep. Yeah, it's important, and I think it's tough to do as someone who started in my role January 2021, having that connection. I forget who said it this morning, but it's tough, right? Because you're virtual, and now we're starting to get back into office, but you forget how much of your social life is actually at work,
Right.
outside of work at a happy hour. So it's very impressive that you guys have kept it going. I guess, Linda, from a culture building perspective within the team, is there anything that you guys look to do just to kind of bring the teams together, and how you've approached that?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, we do virtual happy hours. We've done gingerbread house building contests during the holidays, fun things like that. Right now, we're planning a talent show, which will hopefully be in person at some point, but we discovered that we all have some hidden talents on the team that we want to showcase to others. And then I think...
feel like we should be like in a talent show here?
Yes,
It's like a
it does. I
amphitheater.
know, this is like we're in the fishbowl with the spotlight. And then for me as a leader, I think it's also really important to keep a finger on the pulse of the organization, even more so during these, virtual times, hybrid times, et cetera. And so while I meet regularly with my direct reports, I also block time on my calendar every Wednesday morning. Anyone on the broader team can schedule 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes with me for a coffee chat. No agenda, no PowerPoints, nothing. Let's just talk, whatever's on your mind. It can be professional, it can be personal, just get to know each other better. And it really has given me a chance to get to know the broader team on a much deeper level, which has been great.
That's a great idea. I'm stealing that if I
Go
can.
right ahead.
And that actually is a good segue as we kind of round out team building. Is you run a 100-person organization outside of your direct reports. How else are you keeping in touch with the operations? Because once you start to scale to that size, you obviously lose track to some extent of the day-to-day and where you need to insert yourself. So how do you keep on the pulse? And maybe that is your answer, but is there other ways that you guys look at that? And same question for you, Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, that's the informal way that I do that. We also have formal pulse surveys that we run on a quarterly and an annual basis to really truly understand, anonymous, of course, but, get a sense of how people are feeling, how they're handling, all the changes related to the pandemic and everything else going on, so that we continue to build the right culture, keep people motivated and engaged, and build a high-performing team.
Yeah, and Michelle, same question to you. How do you guys look at, well, you specifically, keeping in touch with the operations and with the team as it's scaled over the years?
Yeah, well, I think we do a lot of the same things. So we have we have a My Voice survey that happens every year, plus a pulse that's happening next week, and that's really, really important data. And I think acting on that data shows your commitment to your team and building the team. So we actually co-create the action plans. So we take all the data for our team. We get to, where are we below benchmark, where might we be below some of not only external benchmarks, but internal benchmarks that we don't want to be, and where are there potentially some, pain points for our team. And then we just recently had one in February. We always have an offsite where we break into groups and we talk about ideas of what can we do about it. Because it's our team, it's our culture, and no one's going to change it except for us, right? So that's a really important thing we do. Out of that has spawned a lot of really great management routines, one of which, we've continued the happy hour and evolved it. But other ones are how we work. And one thing that we do is have a lot of huddles. Not a lot of meetings, but huddles, could be 15 minutes, could be 30 minutes. And they're really bite-sized on what we cover. So they're on some important work streams, and it's focused on working sessions, not presentations, so that everyone has a voice in the huddle. People are building on other people's ideas. People feel like they're heard. They feel included, and that's really important as well. The other thing that I personally do, similar to your example, Linda, is I do skip levels and skip levels, so that I get to every level in my organization, where 2 to 3 times a year we have a 30-minute open session and whatever people want to talk about with me. And that helps me, augment that my voice data to, really hear specifics from people and keep a pulse that way.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear the happy hour and some of those practices came out of your surveys, because I think that's something that we do the same. We survey our teams. It's anonymous, and one of the pushes for us has been, this is great, but we need to action it and put it into practice. And so maybe that's a good segue to kind of the next topic we wanted to discuss, which was change and transformation management. And so there's the ways of working and kind of the operations that you guys are listening to your teams. But Michelle, I'll go to you first. You mentioned in our prep call, you're really focused on upskilling and specifically building resiliency and agility within your teams by modernizing their skill sets. So what does that mean? How are you guys looking at skill sets and upskilling?
Well, I think resiliency is key, first of all, not only in our personal lives and for our personal well-being, but also at work. You need to be open to experiment. You need to be able to learn from whether that experiment was successful or not. And then you need to have the energy to keep doing it again and again. And that's the resiliency part of it, right? I mean, it's not one and done. And that's a skill, and it's a muscle sometimes that we don't use, and you only can build that muscle if you continue to practice it, right? So that's why resiliency is so important. I think agility is important, not just for marketers, but at MetLife it really is an important priority for the whole organization, because it means that as teams, we work faster and more iteratively, but also as one end-to-end team versus in siloed ways. That's a different set of skills as well. Mm-hmm. And so one thing I try to stress with my team is, we need to look for athletes, not just specialists, right? And so athletes that, I always describe it as a T, you have breadth, but you also have depth that you can be able to utilize at any point. And that allows, I think, a lot more flexibility on the team because, priorities and projects ebb and flow, but also like a lot more growth for individuals because you're not just doing the same thing all the time.
And just going back to you, Michelle, so I manage a team of category development leads, and specifically we're looking for generalists, not specialists. But we've hired folks who have largely been in a specific skill set. And so we saw in the interview process, they could be generalists, but there's a lot of coaching that's needed so they understand that they can be agile and can kind of flex. How do you guys coach, to use your athlete analogy, how do you guys coach the members of your team to understand, there are different times when you need to use different muscles, and maybe it's new or something that you haven't used in a long, long time, but you need to get over the fear and just start to get into it and use it.
Well, I think, obviously that's going to be a different solution across different functions and different priorities. I can give you a specific example on my team. When I came 3.5 years ago to MetLife, I brought together a group of strategists and marketing scientists, which are, researchers, insights, et cetera. And you would think that those are two things that naturally go together, but they hadn't naturally gone together, right? And so what I've tried very, very hard to do is make sure that on all of our projects we're paired up. There's a strategy lead and a marketing sciences lead that are collaborating at all times to set what that learning plan is, how we're going to deliver value to the business, et cetera, because it really is about strategic insights at the end of the day, right? And what ends up happening is they end up coaching each other, right? Because
peer to peer.
Exactly, because then, it's not about strategy that can't be implemented. It's about having a hypothesis that you use insights to, prove or disprove, and then how do you set the research plan for that? And then I think, in addition, to get back to your point about upskilling, though, typical researchers don't like to operate in that environment, right? They like to do a study and report out, and it's like, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to be publishers. And the strategy folks were like, yes, like we can be. Oh my gosh, we can write thought leadership and the different things like that. But we had to look for people who really wanted to be a publisher and wanted to use insights and not just data report outs to help drive change in the organization.
It makes a ton of sense, and it's something, Linda, I'll go to you, just kind of following up on Michelle's point around peer-to-peer. I was telling you backstage that we used Danone actually today internally as an example with our sales team of showing behavior of when they work across different teams, because we don't want our folks badgering your teams. And so I guess for you, like, how do you guys celebrate the right behavior and as you look to upscale internally at Danone and make sure that it's public, because I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I think one of the important things for us is showing up as one team, one voice, one team. So when we're working together across insights, across, data analytics, across media, across creative, we want to make sure we're doing the hard work, having the hard discussions behind the scenes, but then showing up with one voice to the organization. And that's really, I think, where we can shine. And then we make sure that we celebrate success. We actually just implemented a new awards program modeled after the Oscars or the Tonys. We now have the Dannies, where we're recognizing quarterly and annual performance. And it's not just functional performance, we're also recognizing those people that are demonstrating those skills that we're looking for. The marketing agility, the ability to pivot, the ability to test a hypothesis and try something new. We're celebrating failure, right? You're not always going to knock it out of the park, but you have to try new things, particularly in today's marketing environment. And so we want to encourage that type of behavior. We want to encourage people to test and learn, to take risks, even if they might fail. That's okay, because hopefully you've learned something and you can apply it to the next time when hopefully you will knock it out of the park.
That's so important, and something we revamped our awards process to show failures as well, because we were only showing wins, and we wanted to make sure people realize that even if you're doing the right things and it doesn't come to the end result, the more that you do it, it will produce as you go. So maybe let's transition to the other topic around change and transformation. Both of you are active internally on your internal organization DEI and inclusive bodies. Linda, going back to you, can you just speak to where you guys are focusing on inclusivity and DEI for Danone?
Sure. I mean, inclusive diversity is a huge focus for us. It's the right thing to do, but it's also a business imperative. And we want to make sure that we're building a diverse organization, but also an inclusive organization where our internal practices are meeting the needs of that diverse population. And I can speak to a very personal example. I'm a single mom, and I just got an email about an upcoming leadership offsite that required travel on Sunday. As a single mom, organizing childcare over the weekend is going to be really, really difficult. And so I immediately called our chief HR officer and said, hey, this is not very inclusive. We talk a lot about wanting to be inclusive. We have one of the best parental bonding leave policies in the country. We do X, Y, and Z. But then it's little things like this where we need to put our money where our mouth is. And he was very receptive. He heard me on that, and we're changing the dates of the offsite. And so I think that's what matters. People want to feel like they're at a company that's going to listen to them and meet those diverse needs of the employee base.
And good for you for speaking up and raising it as well. Michelle, how are you guys looking at diversity and inclusiveness at MetLife?
Oh, gosh, so many things. I would say one that's, very close into to marketing and to our group is that, we're really looking to serve diverse communities and customers, and in particular, underserved communities and customers, right, with all that we do. And that means we have to listen sometimes to our customers in a different way. And so we need to ensure that our people are also diverse. have diversity of thought, diversity of experience, et cetera, so that we really represent the customer base that we're trying to serve. So that's one important point. And we've recently, seen that come through very strongly in our employee value proposition work. So we recently, the marketing team collaborated with HR and helped develop and launch and now activate our employee value proposition. And what was amazing to see was that the tides have really shifted a bit. When we did this, we co-created with our employees around the world, and DEI was at the forefront of what people wanted and to showcase in our employee experience.
Wow.
And how important it is, for us at MetLife to both attract and retain top talent.
Yeah, and I think that's it's a topic where, as we have gone through these types of events, I'm glad to hear that it's and see that we're giving it more oxygen, because I don't know that was always included in these type of networking events. So it's great to hear your initiatives both at Danone and MetLife. And so maybe transitioning to our last section here, just kind of giving back to the industry. And so, one of the things from a personal perspective, as I've come into team lead roles and leadership roles over the last few years, I've really kind of focused on how do you give back internally. And then, now I'm starting to think about how do I give back to the industry. And so it's something that you both are active in, and you're on the board and advisory board for Brand Innovators and another organization. So maybe, Michelle, going back to you, where do you put your time? Because ultimately that is the currency, right, for giving back to the industry. So where do you put your time, and what's the passion point in terms of giving voice and bringing up the next generation of leaders?
Yeah. Well, first, fundamentally, I don't believe in time management. I believe it's all about energy. So I'm a corporate athlete trainer, and energy is infinite. So I do try and put my energy into a lot of ways of giving back. But I always find new energy for new opportunities too sometimes. So I think internally, for sure, any opportunity that there is to mentor folks, I definitely take. We have an Accelerate program that has been amazing to help give visibility and opportunity to people. And I've participated as a mentor in that. I've also, being an engineer turned marketer, I have a lot of energy for ensuring that women and especially are aware and welcomed into STEM careers and technologies. And then also, as you said, externally, I try and affiliate myself and put my energy into boards that have diverse communities of not only talent and industries, et cetera, but I really feel like across generations. And I get as much out of engaging with those communities as I hope that I can give back to.
And Linda, going to you as well, and you're as well active in the industry as well internally.
Yeah, I mean, I've also completed the corporate athlete training, and I definitely get energy from helping others. That is definitely what gets me out of bed in the morning. And so externally, Michelle and I sit on the Brand Innovators board as well as the Marketing Society board. I'm also part of American Corporate Partners, which helps mentor veterans trying to make the transition into the corporate world. And I love this industry. I love being a marketer, and so I have been so rewarded throughout my career that I want to give back, and I want to continue to advance this industry through these organizations. And then internally, very similarly, huge passion for helping diverse populations. I'm part of our internal Women's Lift Network, and I mentor people through that, as well as through American Corporate Partners with veterans. So those are kind of my passion points.
Amazing. So I think we have 5 minutes left. going to throw a bonus question that we did not cover. So, and this is an easy one. Going back to the top and maybe kind of closing it out. So I think for the room, what is something you wish you learned that you had to learn the hard way through a mentor or a boss in your career that you now know and try to help your teams understand?
Always negotiate. That is something I
Oh, that's
now
a great
tell
one.
everyone, especially women, but everyone, always negotiate. Know your worth, ask for the promotion, ask for the raise, ask for the flexibility. The worst somebody can do is say no. But I think more often than not, you'll be surprised when they say yes, and you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't asked. So I tell people to always ask and always negotiate.
That's a good one.
Michelle, putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, yeah, thanks. I guess one that comes to mind is progress over perfection. And I take that one, kind of to heart because I am a perfectionist. I like things to be perfect. But sometimes you got to let it go and focus on the progress, even if it's incremental, and celebrate that as well.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you both for your time today, and I think we'll wrap it up.